Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. I kind of want to talk about, this is something I've been thinking about for a while, and it's a question I get asked a lot as well. It's, why should you go to Russia? Like, why should you consider visiting this country? Now, to most people, and to me to some degree at the beginning before I'd met my wife, okay, to me, Russia was like a nothing country. To me, it had nothing to offer. I just looked at it as this big kind of empty wasteland, cold, nothing going on. If you weren't in Moscow or St. Petersburg, there was nothing there, and it was just a place that had no interest. And well, I've been quite honest about that. I've been honest about the fact that before I'd met my wife, I had no interest in visiting Russia. It wasn't a country that I ever wanted to visit. It just didn't interest me. There was nothing there that interested me. So you're probably thinking to yourself, so why now are you so like, oh, I can't wait to go to Russia and I'm going to move there and I'm going to live there? And I get a lot of people say to me, oh, you're only living there because that's where your wife is. You're only visiting because your wife is. If it wasn't for that, you wouldn't go there. Now, well, yeah, obviously, my wife has a big part in that. But I've also said many times that on my first visit, if I really didn't enjoy the country, or I didn't feel like that was a country that I would like to live in, I'd be honest about that, and we wouldn't be making as many trips, or I wouldn't be making as many trips to Russia. We'd be going to different places until we figured out a country that we'd live in, whether that would be England or maybe a different country. But obviously, as you know, in some of my older videos, when I first went, I had no expectations. Okay, so I kind of went in expected nothing. Just kind of like, well, let's just see what happens. And now I know what you're going to think. Well, you've gone to St. Petersburg, so according to you, that there's, unless you're in St. Petersburg or Moscow, Russia doesn't exist. There's nothing else there. And I have been to other places. I've been to Vyborg. Yes, I know I've been to Moscow, but that's like going to another country. It's like you coming to England and not going to London. You just wouldn't do it, So, like going to France, not going to Paris, and so on and so on. So I've made a video about that. It was a great video. I'm going to touch on that later on in this video, but I remember my first trip. I remember going through the border, and this is about 10 o'clock at night. And bear in mind, I've never been to the country. Okay, didn't know the language, didn't know where anything was, what anything was, and it just felt normal. I don't really know how to explain it to you. Like, when you go to a country for the first time and you're a bit nervous, and you're a bit, oh, I don't know, I'm not sure about this, or you need a few days to kind of get into it. I just remember arriving. Now, obviously, I was meeting my wife somewhere. We were struggling to find out where exactly. We obviously got there in the end. But I just remember everything just felt normal. And I think for me, that was a good indication that this was going to be a place that I was going to like. And so my first visit, we're driving up to St. Petersburg. Obviously my first time. My wife's driving me back to her apartment, and on the way we're obviously having a good chat, but I'm also kind of taking in the scenery, what's around me. And naturally, I'm trying to compare that to England. Okay, so I'm in my head, I'm like, oh, that's pretty similar. We have the similar kind of this, we have a similar kind of that. And I made a video recently kind of saying that, well, it was a Q&A. I had a Q&A, and someone asked me what the what the similarities were between England and Russia, and other than a couple of seasons, like your spring, your summer, there really isn't a lot of. They're completely different countries. Cultures, foods, a way of life. Everything's just so different, and even like just living, even housing, it's just so completely different. So that was interesting to me. Because where I don't travel a lot, I don't get out very often, and I do recommend at some point in your life go out and travel somewhere. Now, I'm not saying it has to be Russia. It could be anywhere. Maybe you've got a country in mind that you're thinking, I'd really love to go and visit there one day. Just go and do it. Set yourself some time, save some money up, get yourself a passport if you don't have one. Just go and do it. I just think everyone should experience that at some point in their life. Anyway, so back to Russia, back to why I think you should move to Russia. Well, not move to Russia, but why you should visit Russia. So, as I said, a lot of people will have this opinion or thought that there's nothing to do in Russia. Okay, there's not a lot that goes on. It's just a cold place, and there's always snowing. It's always cold. Now, I was in Russia obviously last year, and I went over there in the summer, and it was hotter. It was hotter than England. Now, if you're from England, we have some pretty. You can see the weather behind me already. It's pretty nice, and we can have some pretty good summers here. Weather could get up to like 30, mid like late 20s, maybe early 30s in the temperature. So it can be hot, but I was surprised at how nice the weather is. Now look, I'm just talking about where I was, okay? St. Petersburg. Obviously, Russia is a very big country. It has 11 different time zones. If I'm correct, I think it has 11 different time zones. So it's a big country. So there are going to be places that are going to be very cold, maybe all year round, right? I'm just telling you from where I am, where I go. Okay. Now that kind of like I remember we were in St. Petersburg and we went to a lake. I've got videos up of me. You can just have a look, have a browse after this video. If you're new around here, go and just browse the channel. If you don't want to subscribe, you don't have to. I'm not going to put a gun to your head and say subscribe to my channel. But take a look around. Have a look at the videos. There's loads of them up there. If you're interested, subscribe, and there'll be more videos to come. But just take a look. There's loads of videos. And there's shorts as well. And there's one of me swimming in a lake, and I was just so surprised at how hot it was there. Really, really hot. Like it was at one point it was hotter than England in the summer, which really surprised me. Now look, don't get me wrong, in the winter it gets cold. Now, obviously, to Russian people, when I say things like -7, -10, that might not seem cold to you, but to someone like me, people that live in England, and you rarely get to like -1 degrees. You might get the odd day or two in the winter where it gets like that. That's cold for us. Like 1-2 degrees, plus 1-2 degrees is cold for us. So when we go into a country where it's like, it can get up to -30, quite drastic. And again, talking about St. Petersburg, okay? I know in other places it can be colder. I'm talking about where I was. It can be up to like -30 degrees. So that is extremely cold. So what's it like in Russia? Well, you'll see my videos. I get up to so many different things. And one thing I really enjoy about, like, there's a lot of things I enjoy about Russia. Okay, the restaurants are really cool, but the parks. Now, I love parks. I love exploring. I love wildlife, and their parks are so good. Now, I've made many videos of different parks, and again, you're more than welcome to go and go through and explore and maybe watch a few of them. The parks are just stunning. They are absolutely amazing. A little bit of a spoiler alert. I'm thinking maybe in May, so not long, about going to Sochi for maybe a week. Okay, now it's not 100%. Like I mentioned in the last video, we were thinking about Turkey, but we are undecided of where we want to go at the moment. So it looks like we might be going to Sochi. So there'll be another place for me to explore and share with you. Now this is a very warm place in Russia, and if you don't know much about Sochi, I can't remember the year, but they hosted the Olympics. I can't remember the exact year, but they hosted the Olympics. When I find out, I'll pin it as a comment, and you'll kind of maybe you'll know what I'm talking about. But because it's such a big country, there's so many. Everywhere you go is just so different. Your main, your big Moscow. Anything you want to do and think of, it's there. St. Petersburg, architecture, everything is just stunning. And then there's Viborg, really quiet place. I've made a video about that. You can go and watch that. We spent a couple of days there. It was fantastic. I've been to so many different places, and each place has its own different thing that it could interest you in. Now, if you're a big fan of theatre and the fine arts and things like that, you're going to love your St. Petersburgs, your Moscows and whatnot, because they're really big into that. Okay, so before I end this video, there's just a few things I want to touch upon real quick. So you may have seen plenty of videos where the YouTubers have said, like, Russia is the cleanest place on earth, and it's like a fairy tale country. Nothing bad ever happens. Come to this place and you won't find anything dirty anywhere. Nothing bad will ever happen, right? Unfortunately, that's not the case. Okay, Russia isn't this fairy tale country. Now, am I saying Russia is a bad country? Absolutely not. Make sure you don't get my words twisted. I'm not saying that Russia is a bad country, but I want people to understand that it's like most countries. Okay, you have your good parts, you have your clean parts, and you have your dirty parts and your bad parts. Okay, now that is true for Russia too. Okay, I've been to Moscow, right? I have seen some pretty dirty things in Moscow, but overall it is a very clean city, and I made a video about that. You can go and check that out. As I said in this video, after this video, you're more than welcome to go and browse through. Just have a look. If you're interested in the channel and you're new around it, just subscribe, and there'll be more videos coming throughout the year. But I just kind of wanted to add that because it's the cool thing to do, to just go, Russia's this like awesome country where nothing bad ever happens, and that's just not the case. And it annoys me that people say that. Look, I get it. You want to get your point across that Russia is a clean country. It is a clean country, but that doesn't mean there aren't dirty places in and around, like everywhere. Okay, so you've got to think to yourself, why do you want to visit? Are you in a situation where you've been thinking about moving? Okay, maybe you've been seeing recent videos like mine and other channels where you've been going, you know what? I feel like I want to do this, but you've not been yet, but you're still unsure. Just go and visit. Doesn't matter what time of the year it is, come and visit. Okay, make your own mind up. Yes, of course, watch this channel, watch other channels, get an idea, okay, an understanding of what the country is like, but experience it for yourself. Okay, that's the best way to do it. Not to listen to people telling you that it's this super bad country and you shouldn't go and visit there. I'm telling you that you should go and visit there. Okay, Um, if you are in a situation like me, where you've got a partner, you've met someone, and you're in that process of visiting, deciding what country you're gonna ultimately live in, again, get there as soon as possible. Have many visits, okay? Don't just rely on the one visit. You can never, don't just think, I'm going to go there once and that's my decision, I've made it, all right? You've got to go there several times. You've got to experience all the different things that are on and that happen in Russia, okay? The different times of the year. You might go in the summer and the weather's like this out there, okay? Glorious sunshine, really warm. And you might be thinking to yourself, oh, this is sweet, I love this, right? So then you decide to make that move. And then you're in the winter and it's -20, -30, and you're thinking, I really don't like the cold. Okay, you've got to go, you know, more than once in different seasons, right? Get a really good experience, a really good feel for the country. Now, look, am I an expert on Russia? No, I'm not. I'm far from it. Okay. Now, if you look at the description on my channel, it just says that I'm a guy that's visiting and exploring and hoping to move to be with my wife. Okay, I'm not an expert in Russia, but I've been to Russia and I can kind of share my thoughts and opinions and my experiences, and basically that's what my channel's about. But if you want to ask me questions, I will of course do my best to answer them. Okay, there are other channels out there that have better information, have better knowledge. These people live there, okay? They've made that move years ago. I'm going to recommend to go and check these channels out. You probably know most of them anyway. Anyway, this is going to be it for this video. There might be another video coming this week, I'm not sure yet. Anyway, that's it from me, and I will catch you in the next one.